So what we want to be able to do is make some money with this. This isn't something we apologize for because absolutely, positively, everyone here needs to be able to take care of their families, needs to take care of their obligations, and they need this thing to make some money. Basically, then, the question constantly arises, how can we make money? How fast will it work? What will it do for me? And that's what we attempt to answer here now. But first of all, the objective. This particular formula, this algorithm, if you will, has an objective that for anyone using it, they will make a full-time income working from home. Well, let's get some definitions here. Now, if you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics under the United States Department of Labor, they define weekly incomes. A full-time worker, age 25 and over, without a high school diploma, makes an average of $464 a week. A person with a high school diploma makes $648 per week. Now, a person with college background, at least a bachelor's degree, is making $1,170 per week. So what we'll use for our benchmark is simply $1,000 per week. But we wanted to be able to illustrate that $1,000 per week is what is considered a full-time income, $52,000 a year gross. So if that's our first benchmark, be aware, though, that we don't plan to stop there. We just want to be able to fulfill our obligation, and that is to make this so that everybody participating can at least make this much. So that's what we have it do. That's the focus, and that's where we start. Another thing I want to point out to you is that the Federal Trade Commission published a pretty extensive report on MLMs, business opportunities, and they outlined some major issues and concerns, many of which you're going to see as it relates to the numbers, just sheer numbers involved in any program that gets a number of people that are going to get a number of people that are going to get a number of people. Well, of course, the numbers are going to get huge. Now, we're not going to say that we've overcome all that, although we do believe we have a solution, but you need to at least look at these things and understand where the skepticism comes from and what the general problems are in putting together something like this. How do you actually overcome the sheer numbers? I mean, obviously, we've said before, from the 20th generation, if your system is doubling every generation, the 20th system is over 1 million people, 20th generation. Well, that's not realistic, or is it? It is if you've built into the program the ability to support all those folks that you're not, but you can't possibly support them directly, but the system has to be able to support them so that they have a means to succeed just like number one person does. All right. But as it stands, we want you to be aware of this particular report and some interesting stuff to look over because there's some other issues that do come up as well. Now, not only do they make these valid points, but there's a couple things we would like to add to what's being said. 2 points. First of all, this is not an MLM. Okay? That's important to you for a lot of different business reasons. Sometimes when we're working to get a merchant account, people are going to say, well, what does your company, or what do you do for a living? Oh, I got this MLM. Well, you're wrong. You don't have an MLM, and if you think you do, you're in the wrong place. There's no levels involved in this. You are selling subscriptions to educational audio and video libraries. You're selling subscriptions to educational audio and video libraries. You're selling them directly to individuals who happen to be using them in a home-based business. But you're not in an MLM, okay? You're simply selling subscriptions to educational audio and video libraries. All right. But the other thing that people don't take into account if they look at the general problems that people have with something that's built where it continues to grow, double each generation type of thing, is they don't take into account what we've done with our solution being Quantro enhancement. In other words, how do you take the 4 people that you need and get them done and actually support each generation independently? Now, that's something that we'll cover in great detail in various different parts of the tutorial. However, for sake of this discussion, just trust that if we say to you that there are X amount of people, let's say 512 people at this generation, you're not supporting 512 people directly, but there are means in place that those 512 people have somebody out there that's getting their groups filled. That's the whole point. All right. So understand that when we throw these large numbers at you, they're not unrealistic if you, in fact, have a system. And that's what this is, the system. Okay, now there's another term you're going to want to understand, income claim. One of the things that happens anytime you're talking about a business opportunity or anytime you're talking about one of these programs where people pay to get into it. Now, in this particular case, it doesn't apply. No one's asking you for an entrance fee. But there's another reason that an income claim, as far as a definition, is something you need to understand. Whenever somebody shows you a luxury automobile or a big house or tells you exactly how much money you're going to be making, that if you do this program, you're going to make this much money and all of your wildest dreams are going to come true. Well, we're not saying they're not, because we're doing something similar. We're saying, hey, this is how this thing works and how much money you're going to make with it. But here's the reason that an income claim would apply in certain instances. If I'm making an income claim, meaning you will make $3,000 a day starting after the 5th day, if I say anything about the amount of money that you're going to make, and I do it in the context that I'm promoting a program, somebody else's program, I'm saying to you, if you do this, come join me in this program over here, and that's what you're going to make. Now I'm claiming that you will make income if you belong to this program over here. Therefore, I need to take the program and provide you what's called an income disclosure statement. What that simply is I need to back up what I'm telling you with real data. In other words, if I say to you a person's going to make $1,000 a week, does anybody make $1,000 a week? Show us the actual data. Last year when you ran this program, did anybody make $1,000 a week? Well, here's why it doesn't necessarily apply here. There is no program. There's no one central location that collects the money for everybody and divvies it up. Therefore, there's nobody that can report how much money each person made, because these people didn't make their money from the program. They made it as individuals. And when you are an individual and you're making an income claim, you're simply saying, this is how much money I made, not how much money you can make joining this thing over here that I'm promoting. You're not promoting somebody's program. You're simply selling an individual software, access to educational software libraries. You're doing that, and you're getting paid directly, and they will be getting paid directly. Therefore, any income that's generated is generated by individuals, not a program or company or somebody that's going to collect things up. That's why you don't get a 1099, because nobody knows how much you make, because they're not giving you the money. The individuals are giving you the money. Therefore, there is no way other than polling every individual to know how much people would make, and that wouldn't make much of an income statement, because we can't disclose incomes that we're not aware of. And since no one's making a centralized income, there is nothing that we can possibly claim on that. So what is this all about? Well, what we're attempting to do is, instead of showing you cars and houses and all that stuff and making actual income disclosure statements, for the purposes of what we're trying to do, it isn't so much of us trying to get you to join something. It's more we are trying to show you what this tutorial can do. And this is basically a tutorial based on the math that we have developed, based on an algorithm, which is a fancy way of saying a set of programs. Based on this set of programs, we're going to say to you, this is how it works, because it's strictly just the math. Okay, and we're giving you this information. Nobody is paying for this. There are no administration fees. You'll go through this entire tutorial, hundreds and hundreds of words, and at no time will you ever find a link that says join here. If you're going to join this thing, or if you're not already in it, you're going to have to get that from somebody else, because this is just simply a tutorial showing you how a person using this program or using this set of formulas would actually be able to do this. So we're saying to you, when we talk about income, we're saying this is how much money this generates based on our mathematical models. It's a projection of a formula, of putting our formula in action. This is how it does. It will work. And as we say, it's just math, not rocket science. However, you can consider it to be accurate. Why? Because if the math holds up and all the parameters that have to go in there, for example, if we said to you at this level there's 128 people, if there were actually something in place that could support 128 people, helping them get the 4 people that they need, then you can consider it a solid, viable projection. But if we said to you, there's 1,028 people at this level, but there's no means other than you working with 1,028 people to get that done, well, then you would see the problem. It can only work if you were able to stretch yourself that far to be able to work with 1,028. However, if you had a dozen people also working with this 1,028 and you broke it down that way, well, then guess what? Now it's more accessible. Now people can in fact do it, and of course that's our program. So based on that model, we're going to throw these numbers at you, and you're going to see exactly how this should work for you. If you're plugged into the program and you're using this program to be able to basically use the placement specialist that we put in place, being able to have everyone's for getting put together, everyone's individual accounts being upgraded so that they own both licenses, and being able to pay you the $125 a month and give you the 2 people who you will again apply this formula to, that's how it works. Okay, so let's start out and talk about some very specific numbers. Now, the model that we're going to show you here is based on using the Quantro enhancement with the placement specialist. So that's why we can show you these huge numbers and say that you've got X amount at this generation. Those people are being supported not by you personally, but by many people who have already entered the system on your behalf, who are placing folks in these various groups, what we call a quad. Now, this isn't a time projection. Why do I say that? This isn't on week 1, then on week 2, then on week 3, because these things could all happen on the same day. They could happen over several days. It just depends on the activity involved. So this isn't something to say, well, by week number 3, because the only thing that's time-based is the 30-day renewal. Everything else is done as it's done. So what I'm saying is, if you're supposed to fill a group and you get paid X amount when that group is filled, you get paid that amount when the group is filled. When will the group be filled? Well, that just depends. Will it be filled in one day? Will it take a day and a half? That's the point. There's a variable there. But it won't take forever, and it certainly won't take a week. Okay, so here's some things you need to look at. You purchase your initial license. That is the only fee coming into this. There are no other costs. There are no other expenses. Now, in some programs, you would have other expenses. You would be able to join, and then you'd have to figure out a way to market and promote it. That means you'd have advertising expense. That means you may be purchasing certain tools and software in order to run it. Those things are great, but we ask you to reserve that for when you're making some money. You will want to use those things at some point, and many of those things are available right here in the Infinity back office. They sell some excellent programs. They sell some excellent tools that you can use. But this tool is designed so that everyone in your group gets qualified, and they've given you what you're entitled to, and that is $125 a month from yourself and from the 2 people they give you, and then of course those 2 people will also provide you 2 people, and it goes on and on. That's what you're entitled to. That's what we get you, and from that point on you build it as you want to. But this by itself will make you pretty decent money. So here we go. So you've purchased a $25 license. That's it. Now, position number 1 gets filled. That's $25. The placement specialist gets paid that $25. The second position is filled. That goes up. That's pushed up to the sponsor. Now, at the same time, you'll be invoiced for $25 because the placement specialist filled it. Invoiced you, the money went up to the sponsor, but you're going to pay that out of future earnings. We're not asking you to come out of pocket. So you see at that point, you're now $50 in the hole on paper. Okay. The third position is filled, and the placement specialist gets paid $25. Because the individual paid the $25, that is simply a wash, meaning that they paid you $25 and you use that very same $25 to pay the placement special. You didn't make any money on it. So that's why your earnings are unchanged. You're still negative 50. The fourth position is filled, which is passed up. That's money that's going to be put in the pocket of your sponsor, but you're going to be invoiced $25 that's going to be paid in the future. So now you have a total of $75 invested. So then things start to happen in the positive mode. You've got your first 4 positions filled at the $25 level. Now you start to make some money. The people that you had, those affiliates number 1 and 2, which were your first and your third position, if you recall, you have 2 people left. You take those 2 people. That's your affiliate number 1 and your affiliate number 2. Well, when you fill their second positions, you're going to get $25 each. So 75 goes down to 50, down to 25. So by the time you fill the fourth position, which is that second position from that affiliate, Now you're at zero, means you've paid all your debt. You're 100%, now you're in the black. Okay, great. So now you receive $25 from the fourth position of your number 2 affiliate. So now you've earned $25. And you won't be paying out any more money except if you consider that you'll be paying $25 as a placement specialist upgrades one of your people to $100, but that's when you have $100 in your hand that you're going to pay them $25 out of. Okay. Now, what happens then is you simply see these different positions. Well, if you recall, the number 1 and the number 2 people each give you 2, so that gives you affiliates 3 and 4. So 3 and 4 each give you their second and each give you their fourth position. So by the time that starts to happen, you're now up to $100. And again, there's no time frame on this. This could all happen in a matter of a couple days. Okay. So by the time we're getting our fourth position filled by our number 4 affiliate, we've got $125. Which means we can now purchase our $100 license. And that money, of course, is going to go directly to your sponsor because that's who you're buying the license from. So we had $125. Well, we spent $100. Now we're back down to $25. But we're fully qualified when it comes to our own personal license. And that's the goal, for you to be in the same position with all of your people. So let's see how that happens. So you receive $25, and you'll see that we're not going to be redundant here, but we're going to say, okay, $25 from number 5, number 6, and in both of those positions. And then you're going to see how all of the different positions are going to be giving you the same thing from these various individuals. So it just goes up and it goes up and it goes up. So your positions are going to be filled, and people are going to be paying you the same thing over and over again. Basically, as they pay you, you're going to be receiving $25 each time from all of these different people in these various push-up positions. So as they're pushing them up to you, they come up to you and hand you $25 when they're doing it. Okay, so you receive the second position. Of course, you've got people now all the way up to as many as 10 affiliates in there, because remember, it's doubling. So it means the first generation was 2, second generation was 4, then 8, then 16, then 32, so you get the point. So we're going to go ahead and skip ahead, and we're going to say that in a third generation, for example, you're receiving $25 from 8 individuals, which is $200. Now, by this time, that second generation has now earned enough money that they can, in fact, give you $100 in a license fee. Now, you notice that you finally received your $100 from your affiliate number 1, your $100 from affiliate number 2, and now we're just going to be able to lump them all in one thing, because it'll happen about the same time for all. You're going to be receiving 4 $100 bills from your second generation. That's $400. So you see it goes up to $1,400. And then they're working on filling your fourth generation, which is 16 people. As we fill those 16 people, that's $400 to you at $25 each. So now notice the same pattern. Your third generation is going to be getting their $100 upgrade licenses, so that's $800 there. And you see another $800. You're going to see this repeating itself. The next $800 comes from the fact that 32 people in the fourth generation are going to be worked with in order to get the $25 given to you. And then you're getting from your fourth generation, which is 16 people, you're getting $100 each. That's $1,600. So this thing is going to get big. And you're going to see this money coming in every single day. You're not doing it personally. There are placement specialists throughout that are working with each of these groups. They look at them simply as a group. They don't know that it's a millionth generation or whatever. They don't know what generation it is. It's irrelevant to them. They simply know that here's a person who needs their 4 filled. And they're going to invoice those people for that job. And they're going to be making about $1,000 a week or more. And that's how they're going to be earning what they're earning. But the reality is you're going to be receiving the benefit of this activity. And this activity is simply doing things such as giving you 100 times 16 or giving you 25 times 64. Or now, if you look at the very bottom one, now we have a new phenomenon. Now you're getting your $125 from your first 2 affiliates, because about this time you're 4 weeks into it and you're starting to receive renewals. So now we have 3 things that are happening on a regular basis. We're filling generations at $25 a piece. We're seeing people upgrade at $100 a piece, And we're starting to see people renew at $125 a piece. So that's where the numbers start to grow. Now, if you want to think this is unrealistic, well, keep on thinking that. But the math is there and it supports it. And why does it? Because this is the way it works. It's a formula. By simply making sure that these individuals get their 4 people and that those 4 people are eventually using money that they've earned from people that we've placed, they buy their additional $100 license, and now they have a business that can support paying you $125 each and every month. That's how you do it. This works for us because of that. So now in the next group, you're going to start seeing the pattern. You're going to see that a whole generation is upgrading. You're going to see that a whole entire new generation is getting their $25 given to you. Now remember, the people that they're filling this group for, they're paying the $25 each, and they're also paying the one that's being passed up to you. They're paying the programs, the placement specialist to fill that slot, and they're being invoiced for the work, but you're receiving the $25 from the new affiliate. And you can do that for 64 people. Now let's just say, okay, 64 people, that's an awful lot. I'm going to make $3,200. Who's going to go out and get these 64 people upgraded? Well, by now you've got placement specialists bringing on new placement specialists and putting them throughout the system. 1 in 5 will actually end up being a placement specialist based on how we recruit and what leads we generate. We know that there's going to be 1 in 5 that are going to be placement specialists. These are people that are going to be filling these groups of 4, these quads. Is 64 unrealistic? No, because if one particular placement specialist can do 10 individuals per week, meaning they can do 10 actual groups of 4 in a week's time, then what you're talking about here is 6 placement specialists, and they'd have that entire 64 group taken care of in a week. What about the 128? Same thing. By then you've got more placement specialists, 12 to be exact. They're going to be taking care of the 8th generation, and it goes on and on and on. It grows accordingly, proportionately to the generations, because people are being added all the time, both as the individuals who are going to be in these generations as well as those that are placement specialists supporting them, because they're getting paid to do so. These aren't volunteers that are coming to you and saying, hey, can I help out? These are people making over $1,000 a week for doing this job. And it's not a hard job if you think about it, because we're asking people to get involved in something that for $25 and no more, they can actually make a full-time income. That's not a difficult thing to sell. But as we start to show you, the pattern is the same. The generations get larger, and each generation is not only paying you the $25 when they initially come in, but they're paying you the $100 as they upgrade, buying the second license from you. And the same individuals will be renewing each month. So when you've got, for example, Generation 4, which is 16 individuals upgrading or renewing their licenses, that's $2,000. But how about the fact that 100 of them in Generation 8 paid you $25,600? Oh, that's crazy talk. No, it's not crazy talk. If there's 25 individuals who were called placement specialists out there, each working with these groups because they're getting paid to do so, they've upgraded these people just by simply pointing out that the individuals have earned the money in their business that they can now afford their $100 license, and they will do so. When that happens in that entire generation, based on the activity of many people that are in there working, you're going to have $25,000 and then $51,000 in the next generation, both from the individuals at the $25 level and the $100 level that's going up there. So that's why at the end of this little example, you can see $221,000. Is that realistic? Well, do the math. It is, if the program is able to, in fact, not only generate individuals that are going to join, but there's going to be people in place that are going to be placing these individuals, getting them registered, getting them set up and getting them so that they can in fact do the exact same thing. Yes, it wouldn't be realistic if you were going to try to work with 1,024 people. But it is certainly doable if you have 100 people in that entire group, 1 in 5, that are actually sitting there and doing this work for you. Okay? So, that's how it works, and that's how it makes you the money. So, remember, the larger numbers are possible because this system has embedded placement specialists in each group within each generation. That's our little symbol you see there. We've got the little smiley face, which is your placement specialist working with those groups. And because a group only has to be filled once, the placement specialist isn't going back to all 1,028 people over and over again. They deal with them once and they move on, and they're not by themselves. They have cloned themselves to the point where they brought in other people that are going to be working because they're paid to do that also. It's in their best interest to bring in these additional people because they will never, ever, ever run out of things to do. There will always be people for them to place and people for them to get paid for doing it. That's how this works. That is the genius, if you will, of Quattro enhancement, meaning that you have enhanced the ability of each of these groups to be self-sustaining, self-supporting, and to be able to get the job done regardless of how big it gets, because as it grows, the number of people supporting it grows proportionately. Okay, that's how we do this. That's how you get paid. So when you want to know how soon will you get paid, where will you get paid, simply know this. We get you started. We have you doing some very simple, specific things. We get the placement specialist set up, and we're going to be able to give you great detail on how that's done in separate tutorials. But we wanted to give you an idea, how does the money work? It works because these groups are doubling: the 2, the 4, the 8, the 16, the 32, the 64, the 128, on and on and on. And we're going to be able to see whether it's 256, 512, 120, or 1028, whatever the case is. Those groups can make it work because they've got people there that are paid to do that. And that benefits you, and it benefits the individuals that you bring into this. That's how we do it. That's how you make the money. Do you want to know how fast it can work? You'll start getting paid right away, and you will never stop getting paid. The money will show up directly into your bank account from your merchant account, whether that's PayPal or directly to your bank, whichever system you have set up. That's how the money's coming to you. Okay, so that's the getting paid part. That's the fun part. And we're going to go from here and learn out how we make that happen.